Hi, why we get sick and what is the role of metabolic health and metabolically unhealthy. I'm going to discuss diseases from the point of view of metabolism. 88% of the Americans are metabolically unhealthy. Even the thin people, because they are thin from outside, but they are fatty inside, meaning they have fat inside their liver and around the organ in the upper abdomen. So, what are the diseases which are called metabolic syndrome and mean that the person is metabolically unhealthy? These diseases are obesity, fatty liver, cardiac diseases, cancers, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Poly mean many, cystic means cyst, ovarian mean many cysts inside the ovary or around the ovary. Diabetes type 2, dementia, Alzheimer, erectile dysfunction in the males, infertility in the males and the females. And how do we know clinically that we are metabolically unhealthy? We can do it simply by measuring the waist around the level of the umbilicus. 2, increase in blood pressure. 3, increase in blood sugar. 4, decrease in HDL, which is high density lipoprotein, what the people call decrease in good cholesterol, increase in triglyceride. Triglyceride, tri in Latin means 3 molecule of fat acid attached to the molecule of a glyceride, and the level will be increased, and this is related to the amount of carbohydrate, sugar, and refined carbohydrate we eat. Of course, there are many theories about the causation of diseases. For example, recently I read 2 books by Dr. William Lee, William W-I-L-L-I-A-M, Lee, L-I-E. 2 books, Food or Eat Food to Beat Diseases, Eat Food to Beat Diet. And he focused on 5 causes for having diseases. For example, angiogenesis. Angio meaning a production of a new blood vessel. Angio means blood vessel, genesis, production of a new blood vessel, which we need sometimes to repair damage, for example, in the liver, in the heart. And sometimes we need to stop a new blood vessel, for example, in cases of cancer. 2, microbiome, which is the organ of microorganism inside our colon and also on our skin, on our all orifices in our body. The microbes, they live on us and in us. The third system is DNA repair. The DNA repair itself from the damage, and this repair happens during the night, the early hour of sleep. And if the cell cannot repair itself, there is a program in the cell which orders the cell to die, clean death, which is called apoptosis. Why it is clean? Because there will be no inflammation, and the immune system, meaning the blood and the macrophages, will come and eat these dead cells. The fourth system is the immune system, which is consisting of 2 parts, the innate part, the part which we are born with, which is the blood and different type of white blood cells inside the blood, and the adaptive part, which happen when we are exposed to new infection by bacteria or virus, and the immune system will produce antibodies and other chemicals. The fifth system is the stem cells. Stem cells are original cells which are used by the body to repair the damage. For example, if there is damage in the liver, the stem cells will go in the blood to the liver to make liver cells. Or if there is damage in the heart, the stem cells will go to the heart and produce cardiac cells. or damage in the brain. It will go to the brain and will produce new nerve cells, which is called the neurons. But now I will focus on metabolism. And what is metabolically unhealthy? Metabolically unhealthy mean insulin resistance. And to understand insulin resistance, we have to think of single cell to demonstrate what is happening. Every cell, it has receptors for insulin. And let us say the receptors like doors. So these doors will be opened by insulin hormone to allow glucose from the blood inside the cells. So every cell in the body, it has insulin receptors. But there are areas of the brain which can use glucose even without insulin. And also in the skeletal cell. There are pathways. When we do exercise, they will be open and let the glucose to enter from the blood inside the muscle. So the muscles are very important for our health. And they are very important organ because they suck the glucose from the blood during activity. This is very, very important. So now, if the insulin hormone is high for a long period of time, then the cell will stop responding to insulin hormone. And this is a common phenomenon in our physiology. It happens everywhere. For example, in addiction also. So if the cell exposed to high insulin hormone, then it will become resistant to insulin hormone, which means that the insulin hormone is not functioning anymore. Then, if the insulin is unable to let the glucose inside the cell, the blood sugar will start to rise in the blood slowly and surely. And this process, it will take years, perhaps 15 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, until the blood sugar will be raised in the blood. And then when you go to the doctor and check your blood sugar, it is high. Then you are diagnosed as diabetes type 2. But in fact, you are pre-diabetic even before your blood sugar is raised, and even if your blood sugar is normal. So we cannot get insulin resistance unless we have high level of insulin, which is called in medicine hyperinsulinemia. Hyper mean high, insulin mean hormone, insulin hormone, emia mean in the blood. So we have high insulin hormone in the blood, then we get insulin resistance. And when we get insulin resistance, then the blood sugar in the blood will be raised and we will get diabetes type 2. And also, during the period when the blood sugar is normal and the insulin hormone is high, we get metabolically unhealthy. We get obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, bad cholesterol, and increased abdominal gas, and all diseases which I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And this is very serious and very important. So the problem is doctors and lay people, they think a blood sugar in the blood or the level of blood sugar in the blood is the same as insulin hormone. This is not true. So the system now in Western medicine and all over the world, they measure fasting blood sugar and hemoglobin A1C. But in fact, we should measure fasting insulin hormone. And all the video, if you learn only this, then you learn everything. This is the most important point in the video, is to measure fasting insulin hormone. But how? The GP will not accept to do it, so we have to do it privately if we are serious about our health and to apply healthy lifestyle to prevent prediabetes and diabetes. So to measure fasting insulin hormone, in fact, is more important than measuring fasting blood glucose. How much glucose we have in the blood is about 3.5 grams up to 5 grams in the whole body. Each gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. And the blood sugar level is measured in milligram per deciliter, meaning milligram in 100 ml. How much blood do we have as an adult? We have 5 liters. And 1 liter is equal to 1,000 ml. And 1 liter equal to 10 deciliter. 1 liter, 1,000 ml equal to 10, 100 ml. And you can measure your blood sugar level 70 milligram per 100 ml up to 90 milligram per 100 ml. And they consider it normal. But of course, the blood glucose level, the less the better. Okay, what are the principal causes of raising blood sugar in the blood? There are, of course, secondary causes, but I will focus on the main causes or the main reason. And the first cause I consider is stress. Why? Because during stress, it is hormonal state. There is rising of cortisol hormone and adrenaline hormone, which is also called norepinephrine. These hormones are stress hormone, and their job is to increase blood sugar. They are different from each other. They are secreted from different cells, but the action is the same. And they raise blood sugar quickly. So we see, especially in male gender, biologically, if they are stressed, they will have big tummies, and they will have fatty liver, and there is fat around the organs in the upper abdomen. Why? Because cortisol raises blood sugar. And when blood sugar is raised, insulin hormone is raised. And insulin hormone will act as a building hormone and will change the sugar into fat and store it into the fat cells. Insulin hormone is very important to make the fat and to stop fat from burning. It is anabolic hormone. It is the hormone for growth. It stores energy and it prevents the use of energy. So, this is important point. The second point is inflammation. Inflammation, it will increase chemical in the body which is called cytokine. And cytokine will act on the cell and make it less sensitive to insulin. So, inflammation will increase insulin resistance. And the third cause, main cause, primary cause, is eating sugar, refined carbohydrate, ultra-processed food. It will increase the blood sugar in the blood and increase insulin hormone. And if insulin hormone is raised for a long period of time and to a high level, then the cell will develop insulin resistance. So the ideal treatment is fasting. When we fast, the insulin level will be low. And ideally speaking, it depends on the training of the person. If you do intermittent fasting for 18 hours, which means you stop eating 5 hours before going to bed, then 8 hours sleeping, and don't eat 5 hours after waking up. So this is the total 16 hours of fasting. But You don't need to do dry fasting like Islamic fasting, no water, no calories. You could drink water, you could drink black tea, black coffee, herbal tea, chamomile tea, mint tea, ginger tea. It is okay. Intermittent fasting, but you cannot do fasting suddenly. You have to train yourself gradually to reach this level. And then 6 hours you could eat. And when you start the food, when you break your fast, you have to eat healthy and also in small portions. It doesn't mean you are fasting. You are free to eat large amount of food. No. You start with water, soup, vegetable soup, lentil soup. Then you could eat a protein, which is piece of meat, chicken or fish, or meat with vegetables. And then within this 6 hours, you can have a second meal. But ideally speaking, one should train themselves to have one meal a day, especially those who are suffering from metabolic syndrome, the diseases which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. This is very, very important. Intermittent fasting. It is cheap, it is cost effective, and with time, you will not feel hungry because the body will reset its hunger hormones and you will feel good. You will lose weight and you will increase your insulin sensitivity, meaning the cell will become sensitive to insulin hormone. I hope this is clear and you are learning health. So, to summarize, there are secondary causes for insulin resistance. For example, inactivity, don't do exercises, or taking too much omega-6, which is inflammatory, or there is diseases in the thyroid gland, which is very important for metabolism, or not sleeping well. So these are secondary causes for insulin resistance. But I focus on the primary causes, which are stress. So you have to learn how to deal with stress and how to relax. Number 2, inflammation. You have to find the source of the inflammation and treat it. And the third cause is to control the amount of carbohydrate you are eating, the portion, and also the quality of the carbohydrate. You can eat complex carbohydrate, meaning with fibers, because the fiber will slow the absorption of glucose in the blood and will not raise the insulin. But if you eat, I'll give you an example. If we take a young man who is 20 years old and he can eat carbohydrate, the insulin will be raised for 3 hours because he is insulin sensitive. But most of the people are insulin resistant or partially insulin resistant. So what will happen when they eat? The glucose will increase in the blood, insulin hormone will be increased in the blood, but it will last 5 to 6 hours. But these people who are insulin resistant, they will eat after 2 hours. So the insulin will be raised again. And after 3 hours, or they eat all day long, or sometimes even in the night. So the insulin hormone will be raised all the time. And in that case, and after many years, they will be definitely pre-diabetic, and nobody check fasting insulin level, and they will become sick with metabolic syndrome, one of these diseases. There is now a new test, which I done personally 2 years ago. they measure my fasting blood sugar. I'm fasting insulin hormone. Then they gave me, of course, I was fasted 12 hours. You should go fasting 12 hours. Then they gave me 75 gram glucose, and they withdraw blood after half an hour to check both insulin hormone level and blood glucose level. Then also they draw blood after 1 hour to check both glucose and insulin hormone, and after 2 hours. And my results were good. But sometimes even they will take blood after 3 hours in those people who are suffering with metabolic syndrome. I hope I explained this complex problem, and if I didn't, or I wasn't able to give you the information, please comment so I will repeat it in another form, or make it simpler, or do something so that you understand what I want you to understand. So keep healthy, keep learning, God blessing, and bye.